Mastering fandom cultivation, motherfucker. A lot of you guys have been telling me to watch this fucking video, bro. Well, here I am, motherfucker. I'm here. I Spy, I'm here. Alright? Let's fucking watch. I bet this shit is gonna be sick. I bet this shit is gonna be so fucking sick. Intro music.
Whether you like
sick.
it or not, these days BTS are doing extremely well for themselves. Worldwide, immediately sold out stadium tours, multiple number ones on Billboard, huge contributions to the Korean GDP. BTS know how to get the people to open up their wallets, and a lot of media outlets seem to have taken interest in this phenomenon. I've been reading through a lot of BTS magazines.
This Rolling Stone cover, like these, some of these were really well done. Honestly, like all of these, I Spy is an army, like for real. So I can tell that she's like made an effort not to include some of the less satiable covers.
In cover stories,
in terms of cover
of which
stories,
make the promise to explain this phenomenon to you. None ever actually do. Still, some articles are better, some are worse. From what I've seen, there's somewhat of an interest in the group itself. Oftentimes, a way heavier focus is placed on the fandom called ARMY. There seems to be this huge fascination with the way it interacts and expands. The group definitely has one of the highest conversion rates of casual listeners turning into active buying fans I've ever seen. Dare I say there are high levels of ARMY recruitment? Thank you. What makes the fandom stand out is not necessarily just its size, but rather its participatory culture and ability to efficiently mobilize and organize. I mean, at this point, it has become a bit of a meme.
Rally size does not decide who wins the election. That's why on the 20th of January, we won't be swearing in President BTS.
These things are harder to find than a parking space at a BTS concert.
The BTS fandom is a one big hostage pyramid scheme. You know, you make one bad comment and then they get on you, and then it just becomes deeper and deeper, and you can't not be a fan.
So I've been seeing a lot of confused people try to analyze where all of this suddenly comes from. Spoiler alert, it's not suddenly. And I'm gonna audaciously say, for the most part, they're not always doing the best job at it. A fandom is in symbiosis with whatever it is a fan of, and in my opinion, this is where many attempts at understanding this specific fandom dynamic fail. To me, it almost comes across like a lot of journalists trying to report on the crazy fans put in a lot of effort to not really learn anything about what these people are actually fans of.
Talk that shit.
The silver lining I can find in all of this is that I guess that means everybody is allowed to shoot their shot, meaning I'm also allowed to shoot my shot.
Do it.
Here are a couple key components that, in my opinion, contribute greatly to BTS' ability to cultivate and motivate their fandom. Just a cute, short little video, you know.
It's definitely more than a fucking cute short video. It's definitely over an hour long. Underdog narrative. Okay, this is gonna be sick.
With Namjoon and Jin described their first.
So this is gonna be so interesting to talk about, because in terms of like BTS and the fucking underdog thing, it's definitely one of those things that gets talked about the most, especially in the terms of like fans that have like not. I left BTS fandom because like they're just like so successful kind of thing, and like fucking weird K-pop fans that always just want a fucking underdog narrative and are always cheering on new groups and then abandoning them after a year, even though that's literally the most that they need. I don't know, man. Like, I think that this is one of the most interesting parts that plays into like how connected people feel with BTS, is that feeling of like, man, like it's them against the world kind of thing. And the amount of things that they have had to scale, and there's always like a bigger enemy. It's almost like an anime hero. Like every fucking season there's like a new big bad, right? It's kind of like that as a BTS fan. You just sit there and you're like, well, we scaled the whole K-pop industry thing, and now we're in the West. Now we gotta scale the West, and oh, we just topped the West in the charts, but then the award shows, it's like a cycle. And even though the BTS are like one of the most successful artists of all time right now, it just feels like there's still always a next big wall to climb.
Meeting like this. When I decided to join BTS, you called me out to a cafe near the company. You asked me whether I'm determined to join BTS and what kind of dream I'd like to achieve with the group. I thought that I was serious about wanting to be a singer and being part of the group, but Namjoon's determination was way above that. I was touched, thinking, wow, this guy is serious, and I thought I had to get a grip on myself. He was young, but he paid for the coffee. He said, I called you out, so I will pay for you. In the same conversation, Namjoon stated, every year there are about 50 idol group debuts, but probably less than 10 appear on TV. I told
Legendary
Jin
quote.
it's do or die, and I said this isn't a game, this is a fight. When talking about BTS career progression, fans sometimes like to use this one clip as a representation of it. At the 2016 Idol Star Athletics Championship, the 2-year-old group participated in the rally race. Although they consistently maintained their spot in second or first place, they were continuously ignored by the commentators. Only once they officially won the race did the commentators express their surprise and disappointment, as they would have preferred for one of the other, arguably more industry-beloved groups to win. Just like in every other industry, there's a hierarchy among Korean entertainment companies. Being a group formed under a well-established and big company can bring in many advantages, such as more default interest from the general public and fans from the company's other groups, better training, higher budget, as well as more exposure due to connections and contracts. In 2013, Big Hit Entertainment was at the brink of bankruptcy, with the bad track record of one previous group that had failed quite miserably. Coming from that angle, BTS had to do something innovative to be able to compete. With respecting your elders being a huge cultural value, as well as mental health and the societal pressure placed on the youth being considered taboo topics in Korea, it was a daring move for the group to address exactly these issues in their music.
Come on, man, she's killing this right now. This is so... Enemy.
At times, even just the act of performing their music could have gotten them into serious trouble, like when they performed their song Am I Wrong on national television.
Come on, man. I Spy, listen, man. That's the homie right there. I've spoken with I Spy before. We wanted to work on something together. I Spy, you're taking our shit. You're taking our whole shit. We have nothing. We have nothing left to talk about. By the end of this video, you will have talked about all the things by now.
Due to the political climate at that time, artists who promoted reform would regularly get blacklisted by the government. Am I Wrong addresses this climate and even indirectly responds to statements made by government officials. So I believe it's not too far-fetched to say they had balls and they had something they stood for, and this resonated with people. So BTS were quickly able to build up an at first small but already highly dedicated audience that grew exponentially with each new era. But not entirely without pushback. Especially at the very beginning, 2 of the members had to deal with anger directed towards them by their old peers.
Be free.
가사에서 예를 들어서 콜트 앨범에도 그런 구절이 있어요. 게이 같은 외모 남자로 돌려놔. 방탄소년단이 무대에 올라갔을 때 뭐 이제 분장을 한다. 또 메이크업을 하는 거에 대한 어떤 힙합과 충돌되는 부분이 있을 것 같은데.
분장이 아니라 여자 뭔가 같이 같은 길을 갈 수 있었던 사람들인데.
You were on the same path as us, but you couldn't win over that temptation. These motherfuckers like act like they're so fucking like. The thing is, like, these fucking dudes act like they're so fucking from the soil, bro. Like, these K rappers act like they're so fucking 10 toes down from the fucking ground, getting it out the mud. And it's like, dude, you are a middle class to upper class kid in South Korea who sucked at school and decided to do music instead, but you didn't want to apply yourself to be really good at anything. So you started doing hip hop because you felt like it was more rebellious and you felt like you didn't need as much talent to do it. That's your whole shit for like so many of you. And you want to sit here and act like you're fucking better than what? Than fucking idols? These K rappers got wild nerve, bro. Wild nerve. It's unbelievable. They have nothing to fucking stand on with that shit. You're not even. It's not even like you motherfuckers are like from fucking the Bronx. You would think that you motherfuckers are from the Bronx, bro. You would think that you guys are from QB. Y'all are not that. You are not that. And it's very obvious why these kids, who are kids at the time, decided they didn't want to be a part of that. Because they've actually read a couple books. You know what I mean? These fucking guys. These fucking 대담 hiệp guys, whatever the fuck. You motherfuckers are so bitter. Y'all were so. I'm not bringing this shit back. Fucking Supreme boy.
Still, the lack of support
shit.
continued to weigh on Namjoon. At several points in his first mixtape, he discusses his new musical identity as the leader of BTS.
Billy Badass is hilarious, just.
From then on out, he would continue to wonder how he can combine his status as a K-pop idol with his desire to be a well-respected musician. In a 2015 Nylon interview, he stated, "As I've been a trainee for a long time, I kept on losing musical colleagues. I felt lonely musically. I'm not rich in human resources. It's great that I'm doing well with the people that feel the same as me, but there are people who avoid contacting me as I'm an idol and a performer." Rejection didn't just appear in form of losing the respect of their old peers. The K-pop industry didn't turn out to be all that welcoming either.
아이돌이 두 번째 이름이었어. 방송에 잘리기는 뭐 보지겠어. 누구의 땜빵이 후리했고 어떤 이들은 회사가 작아서 제대로 아무도 없어. 그런 TV 역전해서 이제 세계를 열어.
I love when they talk their shit, bro. I really do.
Like it is usual for groups from smaller companies, they regularly got cut from broadcasts and often were treated quite badly while attending radio and variety shows as well as behind the scenes. Once more, BTS ended up doing something quite risky. Instead of ignoring the bad treatment and further attending these promotional programs like it's usually done, they quit attending them in favor of focusing on something else that will become incredibly important later on in this video. Then there was the hate. Unfortunately, getting hate comes with the job of being a public figure, and every fandom revolving around real people will have its own stories to tell. With BTS, it had always been intense, and the members seem to often be very much aware of it.
정말 저희나 이제 팬들이나 이제 욕을 많이 먹었어요. 고생도 많이 하고 아미들은 저희를 이제 뭔가 감싸주시려고 너무 열심히.
우리도 우리지만 이제 팬분들도 굉장히
상처가 많으셨죠.
네, 방탄이 세상의 억압과 이걸 막아내야 되는데 그 팬분들도 같이 막아내다 보니까.
To understand a lot of the early occurrences, we again have to.
That's really significant because I mean, this is one of the things I mentioned too when it comes to BTS and their origins, and when it comes to that underdog story and the relatability and the connection that the fans have. Like, it's in their name. Like, the 방탄소년단 means bulletproof Boy Scouts, and the concept was famously like, we take the bullets for the youth. That's the meaning of the name bulletproof. Like, we're like the bulletproof vest protecting the youth from the bullets that they're facing, whatever. And so it's that kind of irony that he's like laughing at here, because he's saying like, yo, like we were supposed to be taking the bullets for Army, but Army were taking them with us and like shielding us. And that's kind of one of the things I think was a huge revelation for them in terms of why they're so intense about showing love for Army at this point. You know, they really showcase that they have like this deeper connection with the fans than like a lot of people do, because they really feel like, especially considering how the dynamic was supposed to be, they've been just so like, and it's sort of coming from their words, not me like necessarily trying to like mind read, but like they just have expressed such like shock and like such, you know, emotion at like how much the fans in turn decided to take on their own task of trying to be bulletproof for BTS and trying to fight for BTS and shield them. It's a really interesting dynamic, and it's just part of the things that you gotta understand. Like, this is I Spy's fucking killing it here. I'm not gonna watch this full thing now because it's super long, but like I want to continue watching it over the course of like maybe next stream as well. Yeah, this is the type of shit I Spy is killing right now, because already 9 minutes in, we're getting so much more information about exactly how that formative like period and how these different things that BTS went through influence this fandom relationship way more than just like weavers, you know what I mean? Like, oh, fan signs, you know what I mean? Like, motherfuckers just do not get it.
On a regular basis, things got very, very heated. For example, after they had their first music show win with I Need You in 2015, several hate hashtags trended accusing them of chart manipulation and plagiarism. This kept on going and got so intense that eventually BTS had to go to court over it, where it was officially ruled to only have been a rumor.
The thing is, man, like, when people talk about like, oh yeah, the stuff that BTS, like people say about BTS, just because they're most popular and and like you have to expect it to have the most popular group, the most popular artist in the world. Like, of course people were like, BTS has been getting this shit since before they were the most popular. Like in 2015 they were on their way to becoming the most popular K-pop act, but they weren't at that time, and they were still getting treated with the same obsessiveness from people, and that's really what goes to show like that it's this amount of connection that BTS has with their particular, like their fandom and their particular like way of going about things, that I think has a great deal of what also leads other people to just have this obsessive, like angry response to them. It's like being on the outside of that and feeling like that's become this force out of nowhere that has suddenly like taken this power that you can't control, that's like overruling a lot of the things that you feel should have more power. Like, it just causes all this irrational behavior, and it's shit that you can call out, from fans on Twitter to like scholars and journalists doing the same shit. Like, just this unequal treatment, this weird like obsessiveness that people have with BTS and K-pop spaces. It's been going on from way before fucking Dynamite, bro.
After the Young Forever album got the group their first Dancing Award in 2016, they again were accused of chart manipulation.
It's a new I Spy video,
even
yeah.
after the award show had officially recalculated the results and
Sometimes not
explained
even
how
Hybe
they
gets
had
it.
won. Amidst
I mean,
the
yeah.
drama, several Blue House petitions requesting for the award to be revoked and BTS to be disbanded ended up crashing the official website. Then there's the media. The fandom sometimes likes to
Fucking
joke
crazy.
around how the one thing that still hasn't really changed is that even to this day the positive Korean media coverage BTS receive is not in proportion to their popularity and success. This might sound a little far-fetched and like typical fandom nagging, but at least one expert would agree. While discussing
Kim
the
Young-dae.
group's 2020 Grammy nomination with reporters, music critic and Korean Music Awards committee member Kim Young-dae made the following observation.
가수가 이 그래미의 주류 장르의 후보로 올라간 건 처음이라고.
그래 좀 해야 되겠다라고 좀 제가 작정을 했어요.
기자들의 질문을 받다가
이거는 주요 부문이 아니죠. 받은 게 그렇게 대수로운 장르는 아니잖아.
그러니까 BTS가 뭐 그래미 후보에 올랐다는데 그게 뭐 그렇게 대단한 장르나 뭐 후보
그렇게 대단한 거는 아니죠라는 식의
제가 여기서 여러 번 다뤘지만 그 뉴스의 크기에 비해서 국내 기사는 상대적으로 적당한 인상을 내가 항상 받았거든.
Yep.
그렇게 좋아하는 이 미디어
It's just that same dynamic, man. Like, there's people in Korea that have noticed this. This is just something that people are gonna notice more and more over time. Looking back at the phenomenon, it's like, it's the reality that like this fucking connection that this group has with their fans is what's built all this, and people don't like that. People don't like that. That is so, you know, dynamic of a thing. It has built such a power that other people can't grant. You know, it's not something that was granted to them by a large company. That's like they got the cursory shit. It's not like they didn't have certain, you know, Bangsiuk like connections and like weren't able to like there are definitely a lot of groups that were not as privileged as BTS, but certainly in comparison to these top groups in K-pop, like BTS never had the same level of privilege as them, never had the same level of like this is the next up kind of vibe as those other groups, and like that's indicative of like how crazy it is that they were so successful, and indicative of the fact that it was connected to something that was external. It was connected to something that was like, this thing is just such a big emotional like impactful thing with this concentrated group of people that it's just making all of this noise, and we fucking hate it, you know. And especially because that group is like doing these things that are different, dressing different, saying different things in the songs, like making different types of songs that you're not supposed to kind of make, or that you're not usually hearing from idols. Like all of that shit, it causes this sort of pariah effect where it's like, yo, you're doing too much kind of thing. Like you're not one of us. You're not like the kind of thing that we want to exalt. So you guys have your own fucking thing. Go have that, you know?
Positive media attention for BTS has always been quite sparse, and in turn ARMY decided, if we don't get to see publications do the reporting that we want, we'll do it ourselves. Fans sharing their ideas and opinions became very encouraged.